welcome to the Tolleson-Mack podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Rope with Cesar. Do we know anybody that knows anything about that?
Man, I do. I live it every day. Just got one. Sorry, we're a little bit late today to the studio. I was running late with the clinic today, actually.
Look at that.
Nonstop.
His priority is his student.
100%.
I love
what
it.
It's all about. This man to my right here. I learned a lot to do it. I've been watching do it ever since I was a little kid. I'd like to introduce.
Why don't you introduce him?
Uncle George.
Uncle
Aros,
George.
That's all right.
How many times have we said Uncle George on this podcast?
Yeah, I was gonna say I call you Uncle too, so you're my uncle.
We bring that up a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of the reason. A lot of the reasons for my success was Uncle George kind of keeping me in line, keeping me in.
I could tell he kept you in line. I just a little bit. Yeah, I could tell.
It
was pretty easy, really.
I wanted to rope out there, man, as part of it. But yeah, it was. I needed a place like that to go rope, and I mean, from the start when we were kids over there, we got to clean pins. We got to make sure the place is clean, and when you go rodeo, you got to do that every day. It's part of the process. If you don't love cleaning pins, you don't love rodeo. I don't think.
What I like about Uncle George, and like I said, little I've been around him, you can just tell his aura is no bullshit. Like, don't ask nothing stupid. I'm like,
I've known him for 10 minutes, and
that's what I'm saying. I like that.
So let's talk about what you got coming up, Uncle George. You've got the Mike Cervi.
Yes, Mike Cervi's coming up. Tucson Rodeo, when it's in town, that's when the Mike Cervi roping is.
Okay. And I believe it started, you were telling us earlier, started like around 82, but it wasn't always called the Mike Cervi.
No, I used to rope. I used to train on my roping when I was going to the finals and stuff at Leon Cook's ranch in Tubac, and he used to put on ropings and stuff. They're from Wyoming, and they'd come over in the wintertime and have ropings. And he told me one day, he said he'd like to have a roping for the pros when they're in town for the Tucson Rodeo. So I invited all my friends out there. I said, hey, look, we're going to have a winner take all roping. I got the idea from David Gill over there in Madera, California during the Chowchilla Stampede. He had a winner take all rope, and he just said, hey, we're going to have a roping, $250 a man, enter once, winner takes all. I think he had about,
I do too.
That's cool.
He had about 12 teams, I think, and it paid $2,500, and that was unbelievable at that time. So that's where I got the idea. I thought, well, we'd go twice for $150 a man, and that's pretty high stakes back in 1982. Mm-hmm. So the first roping paid, I think, $4,700 per man. That's more than you can win at the Tucson Rodeo at that time. Yeah. And T. Woolman and Leo Camarillo, they're the ones that won the first one.
Imagine that.
And it was a fight to the finish, like it always is. It's always been an exciting finish at that rope, and I've never known it to not be. Everybody's close and everybody's fighting for the win. So that's how it started. So we had it again the following year, and it was bigger. I think in the first, the third time we had it, it paid $10,000 a man, I believe, if we look in the history books there. Yeah. That was like, BFI didn't pay that much at that time. So, I mean, we were all of a sudden the biggest jackpot in the world for a long time that happened. So it wasn't maybe, it was probably, we think we had 5 of them there at Tubac, and it became a spectators thing, okay? We'd show up over there, and there'd be, no telling, 500-600 people came to watch it.
Just come to watch it open.
And it was like a pit bulldog fight, right? They'd all gather around the arena. It was like everybody was hanging around the arena watching. No place to park. It was a parking disaster and stuff. So, the committee at the Tucson Rodeo, what they did is they invited us. If they wanted to have this rope, and you can have it here if you want to. So we did pretty good there too until we had almost 200 teams, and now we're in their way to get out of the way. They're coming out and they say, look, we can't have this anymore. There's too many teams, and we have a rodeo to put on. So at that time, we moved to Casa Grande, Arizona. They were happy to have us over there too, and they have a really good facility with good ground, sandy, and everything else. So we moved it back to.
About when was that you moved it over to Casa Grande?
Well, you put me on the spot right there because I don't quite remember exactly. I'm saying, I'm saying we had about 10 of them there in Casa Grande by now. Is that about right?
Yeah, well, I won in 2006 in Tucson. I think you only had it there maybe a couple years.
6,
so it's maybe 12 years now.
Maybe 12, 13 years is when we've had it there. You know, it hasn't always been the Mike Cervi Jr. What happened, the reason we have that, I mean, we had this established roping going on, and it was long about 2004 that Mike Cervi Jr. was on his way to rodeo, and they had a plane wreck. He was on a plane, and unfortunately he lost his life and he got killed. And Mel Potter and Sherry and everybody, they wanted to do something in his honor, and they wanted to, you know, leave his name as a legacy there. So they asked me if I would change the name of my roping, and they would help me with sponsorship, and we'd bring it to a whole nother level. And I agreed with that. And so we changed the roping at that point to the Mike Cervi Jr. Memorial Pro Classic. And it was right then when we established a relationship with the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund. And we send 10% of the proceeds every year from this roping in Mike Cervi Jr.'s name right there. And I think to date we've got, well, long about $350,000 is what we've raised.
That's amazing.
Through his name
awesome.
there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do the guys take the format? Is the format still the same, or what, did you change the winner take all format?
The winner take all format ended when we started getting over 100 teams. Okay, and everybody, you know, a lot of people that suggested to me that I pay more monies, but I thought, well, the reason it's so good is because it's a winner take all. But they actually convinced me. There was an angry mob waiting for me because I rode in the arena at Tucson.
I remember that. I was just a kid. I'm like, man.
I mean, and
Those guys are mad.
Yeah, those guys are mad at George right now.
There was, they weren't mad at me, but they thought, well, we might have to form a force to convince him that we should pay more monies, because I mean, there's 10.
Yeah, a lot of money.
There's going to be over 100 teams there. You got to pay more than one money. So I mean, I stuck to my grounds, and I said, okay, listen, I hear you guys. We're going to do it next year, but you know, it's already planned. It's already there. We're not going to change. And by golly, they didn't take that for an answer. So they surrounded Leon Cook at that point, because at that point, why, he was still part of the process there. And anyways, we got convinced into doing it, and Perry Bigby was in the grandstands, and he was watching them, and he thought, wow, look at those guys. They really like George, right? They're surrounding him and stuff. They really support him. He didn't realize they were crucifying him at the time there. And I was standing my ground. I said, look, you guys, I'll do it. I will do it next year. Honestly, I will. Okay. But no, you're going to do it this year. So Perry Bigby stepped down, and he sent Clay over there. They were partners in the running P at that point. He said, hey, you need to go do something for him. Just here. He wrote me a check for $5,000 at that point. He says, look, we're going to support you. You're going to have this rope, and this is too important for the whole industry. So anyways, he wrote me a check for $5,000. And what I did is they wanted 3 monies. I gave them 3, and I paid the $5,000 to 4th place in honor of Perry Bigby. So he did a lot for the team roping industry. And if you ask Bob Feist, he saved the BFI too, you know. So I'm real thankful to him. He passed on about 8 or 10 years ago now. He had an important role in the Serby roping too, because he became a big sponsor at that time.
Well, let's talk to Cesar. I heard a story earlier that you got in a little trouble over there at the Serby on the steers in the alleyway.
Oh no. This is not a great story.
The two-back.
At the
yeah.
The
I thought we haven't.
Well, yeah. I used to, when I was a kid, so like I grew up watching the roping as a little bitty guy. I always wanted to win this thing, and like I thought that was as close to a gold buckle as you can get if you could do good at the Mike Cervi roping. So like Heelan was starting to be really. The heelers were throwing fast, and Heelan was getting pretty wild and cool looking about that time. Steve Northcott and Corey Kuntz rode some really cool horses, and you can see some really cool heel shots. And I'm like, man, that's what I want to do when I grow up. Like I just knew it. So I'd ride these steers in the alleyway and get my ass chewed up by George. And like I just wanted to be a part of it, but I was
probably the steer stripper, and he'd get on the steers and ride them down the alleyway.
I'd rope them by the horns. You know, they'd have the horns sticking up in the alleyway, and I'd be snapping on there and hey. Don't be doing that shit. You know what I mean? And so
you're wearing the steers out before they get back.
Man, and Tucson is right there in my backyard. I'm 5 miles away from that facility. And
That's
when
where we grew up.
yeah, whenever he moved it over there, I was like, man, it was a dream come true just to even rope at it. Shoot, I entered that rope when I was 16 years old. I probably didn't have no business entering that thing, but man, I knew this is what I wanted to do, man. This is I'm gonna try to make the NFR, but I knew I was gonna rope in the Mike Cervi as much as possible.
And that's a good probably test at that point, because there were some of the best in the world, and still are some of the best in the world doing it right there.
When I was a kid, George had the biggest, strongest steers, fresh steers. When you go to his ropings, they're gonna score them out there, and it's a true test. It's
ride your horse.
We managed to show up with fresh steers at all 42 of these ropings.
And I had 2 of the years.
You had
Hell yeah. That's my flex.
And like I said,
steers all just broke in is all. We've never been to roping. We've never showed up to that roping without anything less.
Shit, I never even owned a steer before that. See, I remember yesterday, it was October. Well, I don't know. It was, but Cesar called me and says, "You want Serby? You want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah." Here's the catch. You got to buy 170 of the fresh. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did it twice, and I'm grateful I did it. It was cool. I'll always my whole life tell everybody I did the Serby.
Your first one is when we had to move it to Wittenberg during the COVID.
Yes, sir.
There.
Yep.
We had an issue with masks, and the Casa Grande committee. They said, "Well, geez, we're under a lot of pressure there. We're not going to let you do it unless everybody wears a mask." And
you already knew, huh?
Ty Yost.
Thanks for nothing, Biden.
Yeah, you already knew. Huh?
He had Ty Yost has a sign right there that says his right to, what is that? Oh, geez, I forgot what it says there. It says this is our right to
pick or choose or something.
Yeah, he's got it on the gates.
Something like that.
Oh, geez, gosh dang it, my memory's got.
He even talks about a certain amendment or something.
Anyways,
Constitution.
Yes, the Constitution basically is what he had on the list there. This is our right to perform or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, he invited us, actually. I have to say, Ty Yost did invite me because he saw I was in a mess, and I'm not sure I was going to have that if everybody was going to have to wear a mask and stuff. So we went to Ty Yost, and I'm sure gratefully allowed us his facility for that because he's got the state of the art. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing better than his facility to have a roping. So anyways, we got to have it, and it worked out pretty good.
I'm grateful to go up there and be part of that unique year. And then it was also cool to go down to Casa Grande and do it, where the history was and stuff like that. So it was fun. I'm glad I got to do it.
It's the funnest. I didn't do any good that year, but there's been a couple of years where it rains.
Yeah, it rained on us.
It's pretty good when it gets real wet like that.
Yeah.
And for people that video and sitting on their couch in a nice warm facility and watching the team roping runs, it's actually was good watching there for sure.
How you said you won it in Tubac? Did you ever have you? What'd you else?
I won it in Tucson right there in 2006. That was the first year I made the NFR, and that was kind of like one of those deals in February.
Shane Sproul, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Shane Sproul. Yeah. I felt like I belonged kind of about that time.
That's what I'm saying. Like you get up your toe in your backyard, some of the best coming through right there. That's cool.
This is one of my goals that I set when I was just a little bitty guy. I kind of accomplished it.
Tucson is a really challenging place to team rope too. Okay, they have the left wall that's right there. It comes into play, and it's a real long arena. So the steers seem like they run faster there than anywhere. And yeah, if you were to win a rope in there in Tucson, you've really done something.
Yeah, I mean, even the locals, like the natives that live around there, and there's a lot of names that your family is one of the most a lot of ropers that came from Casa Grande South, Tucson area. I mean,
some Arizona,
wicked.
Coulter.
Yeah, all them families. I mean, you can name
Tucson, Andy Anaya, he made the finals, and he's from out there. We got Pedro Aguirola, he's coming on. We got the Camelots. You're going to hear from him soon. Okay, he's only 15, and he's making a lot of noise in the pro circuit right now. He actually placed at the Serby last year.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like it's a testing ground. I feel
sure.
He's all of 15 years old.
He's a man child right there.
We can't leave out Tanner Baldwin. Vail, Arizona. What's up, Tanner?
Vail.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, he's Casa Grande now. Well, I mean, he's neighbors now. We get to see Tanner a couple times a week.
Back even further, the Bradfords lived in Tucson. Bucky and Tiny Bradford, they're world's champions too.
Oh, wow.
And
that's old school.
That's way old school. Those are in the 60s, 70s.
What are the dates for it this year?
Okay, February 21st, Wednesday is the main event. We start off with a pro-am, which is something we started not that long ago. We didn't used to always have a pro-am. Now we do. Number 4 plus. If you're less than a 5, you're eligible to enter the pro-am. And we usually, the headliners, all the pros, everybody's been real great, gracious in participating in that. I haven't been turned down very much. They'll certainly do that. I mean, it's for a worthy cause, and they know that.
I think it's awesome how you give go-round buckles to all 3 go-rounds, and that's
and
cool.
we give a replica.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
For the average, if you do that,
the guys like me, that's what I'm going. That's cool.
So we start off with that on Wednesday. Then we go on with the main event right there. We'll have Reed Flake does a really good intro.
Yep.
To the thing, and we just get rolling, and it's just we're going to grind it out for 5 rounds to see who wins the championship. We also have a pre-roping on Tuesday. We'll have a 13 first, and then a 15. We have a super 15 for pretty high stakes there, and then we go on with a open. That's a preview of what steers we're going to rope. We're going to rope the steers for the Serby. They've had 5 runs on them. Dalen Frost is in charge of the cattle there. And so they're bringing us 2 loads of cattle for that. So we're going to rope them on Wednesday or on Tuesday, and then that's how we're going to run the Serby roping for the following day.
Well, sounds good. Sounds like it's the place to be in Arizona if you want to watch
it's awesome.
team roping.
It's right now. It's right in my backyard, so I look forward to going to it. And I placed over there a few times. Got a good, I think, 1 second there with Big A one year. But it's a different setup there, and they try to get it set up where you're still going pretty fast, and it's a long start. So if you miss the barrier, you're gonna run to the 3/4 mark. But you see some dang good runs now over there, George. You've seen the evolution of the game. My grandpa Vic Aros and you used to rope with the team tying days, and you've got to see the evolution of team roping then. And I mean, did you ever think it'd get as fast as it is right now?
I can't believe it every time I see it. Okay. Matt Tyler made a quote one time, he says, I rope with the wrong half of my rope than these guys today. He was one of the guys that best headers in the world is in his day right there. And he didn't reach or anything. These guys, they start steer number 1.
Yeah.
Reaching, and they're on the second half of their rope almost every run, and then they're doing it so easy now.
Yeah.
And it's a consistent thing. It's not like a 3-point shot anymore. These guys can do it anytime they want all day long.
It's funny how, it's no more like safety up on the first one, we'll go fast on the second one. It's like go fast on every one of them.
Well, and I just can't imagine it getting any faster. Everybody, I'm sure every 10 years somebody will say that, but how much faster
pretty
could
soon they run out of seconds?
They were 3-1 this year, and it made it look kind of easy. I don't think it was a crossfire. I think that steer kind of did a little double hit right there. But man, I think if they can be 3-1 again at that team, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't think it could get any faster than that either.
The only way it could get faster is if they took the crossfire rule away, and I think we would see some 2-second runs then.
Yeah.
Man.
It's crazy. They can team rope.
I can't imagine it get any faster than what it is.
You can team rope a steer faster, and you can throw one down. Like, what the hell?
Well, that kind of gives us all the information on the Serby. We want to get this out to everybody and make sure they get down there, check it out, and it sounds like it's for a great cause.
Yeah, and first time people that maybe never gone down there, I highly recommend it. The watching, you're going to see the best in the world battling it out. I mean, it's no different than what you're going to watch at the NFR. I mean, a different setup, of course, but I'm saying people there. There's going to be
the same cast of ropers for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to touch real quick. So we, this podcast is brought to you by. This podcast is brought to you by. But when we say the podcast is brought to you by Rope for Cesar, we mean it like that. I mean, you can get a hold of this guy and go down and rope with him at his house, and he takes the time. And we tease him all the time that when he's got clinics, we'd only got to show up for an hour because he's gonna be a little late. But that's just because he spends the time. One
thing I'll say about Cesar, I'm a student of Cesar for many years now, and he breaks it down to like layman terms for guys like me that don't understand every word. Like he's very teachable, I guess, or is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But I'm just
No,
saying.
you're teachable.
I'm very. Well,
You're
he's
a
very.
teacher.
He's a very good teacher. But what I'm saying, when you go to his house, he's not intent. He's not. He makes you feel like like I've been to other ones that are whoa.
It's only because you're paying him. Because if you weren't, you get an ass chewing.
I still get to ask chewing, George.
Right.
I have a good time with it, and I've been watching Uncle George teach his students when I was a kid, and I had an idea that I would do this hopefully in the future. And man, God's good, and God's been great to me, and
Absolutely.
a great family, and man, I just love helping people with the rope, and it's awesome. Like there's nothing like winning with your rope, and if I can help people do that, like the feeling you get with that, it's so fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yep.
Like, subscribe, and go check out the survey
Next Tuesday, Wednesday. Sorry.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yes.
All right.